Welcome back to the British Canoeing Paddlecast. I'm Etienne Stott, paddler till I die, Olympic champion and rebel for life. I hope some of you have managed to get on the water in the recent nice weather. If you're on watch again, maybe that's a little distant memory, but for those of you who are joining me this evening, I've had a couple of beautiful days here in the UK, and I managed to get on the water once, which was just absolutely wonderful. So welcome everyone, one and all. Thanks for being here on a Thursday evening. Beautiful to have you along. And we've got a really interesting episode coming up. But last week we had a really cool paddlecast where we were joined by Amy Slack of the Surfers Against Sewage organization and Ash Smith from Windrush Against Sewage Pollution. If you missed it last week, please do check it out on Listen Again via your favorite podcast provider or via the Paddlers portal on the British Canoeing website. It's a really interesting episode. It was super interesting, really thought-provoking and kind of eye-opening as well. So definitely check that out if you want. And thank you. Leave a review and subscribe. That will help us very much as well. So yeah, cool. We're going to crack on. So by my calculations, and I went on the websites last night, it is 112. There is 112 days to go before the Tokyo Olympic Games. So 112 days doesn't sound like very many to me, and 144 days until the Paralympic Games. So that's an exciting number, and I think that kind of brings it to life that it's on its way and it's coming up. And I do remember really quite vividly, I think, the times around in the build up to London 2012. It was just such an interesting time. There's so much kind of focus that you're kind of bringing and the clarity that you're building about your mission and your purpose day on day. It was a really wonderful time to be alive and be doing what we're doing. But it's fair to say that the preparations for Tokyo are going to be, have been completely different. Everything is going to be totally strange because of this miserable pandemic. So it's going to be interesting to find out how things are going for my guests this week, who are all from British Canoeing's world-class performance program. So really looking forward to bringing them in. They're waiting in the wings. But firstly, we have Liam Heath MBE. Liam is the most successful Olympic kayaker and is the current reigning world and Olympic champion. And I've already said that I'm not going to ask him to show his fantastic arm muscles. So please don't do that, Liam. We don't want that. No one wants to see your fantastic arm muscles. We'll just let people imagine. Well, thank you for being here, mate. Really good to see you. And next up we've got Adam Burgess. And Adam, who was part of the Olympic Ambitions program in London 2012. So Adam was taken around London Olympic venues to give him the taste of what it might be like to go in Olympic Games himself in future. And lo and behold, he'll be realizing his Olympic dreams later on in the summer when he's going to line up in the canoe singles category. Adam, welcome. Thank you for coming along, mate. Again, we're not going to ask you to show your impressive muscles either, although they're obviously very close to be displayed with your top. But thank you for being here, pal.
Yeah, they're not as impressive as Liam's. But yeah, hey, thanks very much for having me.
Wicked. No, it's lovely to see you. And as always, it's always nice as well to bring you guys in. And Charlotte Henshaw is by no means our last but not least guest. Charlotte is already a 3-time Paralympian, a 2-time medalist as a swimmer, but she's going to be hoping to secure her first paracanoe title later on this year at the Paralympic Games. So it's lovely to see you here, Charlotte. Thanks for joining us as well. And
thanks for having me.
Cool. Yeah. And I always love seeing all my friends in the canoeing scene, and it's just super cool to have you all here in one place. So look, I was part of the British Canoeing Elite program for quite a while. But try as I might, I do find it really, really hard to imagine how I would have reacted to being in this point if I'd have been in my career during this time, being all tangled up with this pandemic. The last 12 months have been like no other. And it's just, I'm really curious to kind of hear about this and about your thoughts and going forwards. You've had no access to the water or reduced access to water. Warm weather training has probably not been able to happen, and competitive sessions and all this sort of thing. So I'm going to come to Liam first, if that's all right. Just be
no problem.
Hopefully. So Liam, this is going to be your third games. You've been around the block quite a while. But how different is it going to be into this games? You are unbeaten, which is awesome. And, what's it going to be like to go there as the reigning champion, just kind of everyone looking at you with that sort of recognition that you are the guy?
I don't know. Like just mentioned, the lead up to this games is going to be completely different. It has been completely different for everybody. Not just the UK, but the entire world. They're dealing with the whole pandemic and that quite serious situation. But very much focused on competing at my third games. That's been a motivation which has actually helped me through this kind of pandemic that we've been experiencing. And I think probably you said I was unbeaten, and I've been beaten a few times, but I've always, I guess, been one of the athletes that people have looked to, I suppose, at competitions. So going in as an Olympic champion is probably not going to be any different from going to the World Champs. Because they all know who you are and know what you're capable of. And I just try and keep my focus on me, my preparations, my race, make sure that I'm doing everything right and try not to let the nerves get to me too much.
And it's interesting. Is there going to be much chance for the opposition to have a look at you before the games? How many races will you get to see them, and will they get to see you before the games comes for you, as it stands right now, as if it's all going to happen like it's supposed to?
Yeah, I mean, there are internationals on the cards, and we've got a national regatta coming up in a few weeks' time. I think that might be broadcast, hopefully, potentially. And internationally, they're hopefully looking to attend one of the World Cups out in Hungary and the European Champs in Germany. And that's pretty much it before coming back home and starting the preparations for the Tokyo Games. So just a couple of chances there, really, for me. And it's going to be tricky, it's tricky enough anyway, but with travel restrictions and everything that's going on, it's been made even more complex. So hopefully you're going to be able to get out there and actually do some racing, because just the other day me and my coach were just talking, and there's a very real possibility that there might not be, or we might not get out to any internationals prior to the Olympic Games. And that is quite a strange and quite a scary prospect as well, not to be able to go out and test your mettle against the rest of the world and then just turn up at the biggest event, in the 4 or 5 year cycle, and try and do the best you can. So it's a very real possibility, but hopefully we'll get to do some decent racing before then.
Yeah, it's funny how it works, isn't it? Like, they'll want to see you, you'll want to see them, but it's going to be stressful until just unleash the Liam at the Olympics, and that'll be it. They'll just like, whoa, what's going on?
It's kind of I suppose the internationals, for everybody, it's kind of a tuning fork. You get to see how the winter training's gone and the block and the work that you've been doing whether it's the right stuff, whether you need to change it and adapt. The prospect of not having that ability is quite, like I said, a scary one. It's it's very interesting, like, build up and cycle, Olympic cycle already, and it's going to be an interesting year.
I just think it's fascinating to spend time wondering about this. And so Adam, this is your first Olympics, and I don't know what it was like for you. Can you describe that moment? I don't know, when you get your first bit of Team GB kit, what's that like, and how does that sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty whirlwind week, really, with the World Championships. It seems so long ago now. It was start of October 2019, and 1 week later we were at the Foreign Office to have our announcement day. It was a really cool event where they paired it with like a reunion for the last Tokyo Olympics. So we got to meet Olympians who were in their 70s and 80s, and I mean, the whole time just flew by. It still felt we were on this high from the end of racing, and we flew to Tokyo that night for our first training camp as well. So to be honest, it was hard to really remember too much about it. It all just kind of flew by so fast, and I think it didn't really hit home until we got out there and saw the course. There was the occasional moment. It was more when occasionally when we were on our own cycling back from a session or something. That's when it hit me, when I was just on my own, and I was like, wow, this is actually happening. Yeah,
cool. I mean, it's just so interesting, isn't it? The kind of we're probably all somehow managed to live something of our dreams, and it is the strangest thing, isn't it, just to kind of wake up realizing you're doing something that you've imagined. It's an odd thing, but yeah, it's super cool. And I remember, you know, it's funny talking about that Olympic Ambitions program, having little photos of you from London, and it's like, there's Adam Burgess, like, yeah, man, cool.
I feel like it was a coincidence. As we came into the village, you and Timmy were just walking out as well, which is super cool. Like, yeah, I've got that photo still with it was 3 of us with you guys.
Good times. Oh, mate, nice, lovely, good feelings. And Charlotte, well, look, you know, it's amazing that you're here. Thank you so much for becoming a paddler. You used to be a swimmer, and I think everybody is super stoked that you would kind of, what's that word, honor us with your participation in the sport that we all love, and I hope that you love it as well. And I just wonder, you know, everybody must ask you this, and, you know, as I said, you know, forgive me for asking, but what do you see the differences, or what do you value about canoeing or kayaking, whatever you're in, a paddle sport, compared to swimming, and what do you miss, what do you take, you know, because I think it must be just such an amazing thing to have been so good at 2 things that are actually really different.
Yeah, so I think the biggest shock for me was, like, a swimming pool is a swimming pool is a swimming pool wherever you are in the world, whatever the weather is outside. So I was very used to just getting up early, getting in my car, and then spending 2 hours in a really hot, sticky environment. So it sounds silly, but to take notice of what the weather's doing, and to really be in tune with what's going on outside was a real welcome escape for me. It was such a different world than I'd inhabited. And when I first, you know, sat in a boat, I didn't even feel like I was doing a sport. I just loved it for you know, for what it was. And I think that's what really inspired me to take up the sport. I tried a couple of other sports when I was considering moving, but there was something that just brought me back to the water, and I definitely think I just have an affinity with the water, whether I'm in it or on it. So it really was a no-brainer that I would come over to canoeing, and yeah, it was a great decision. And I, like you say, I'm very fortunate that I found another sport that I love, and that you know, that I enjoy spending time doing. It's a real privilege.
And it's funny because I'm just reflecting. I again looked on some of Adam's social media, and there's a little clip of him in the swimming pool, I believe, in the London Olympics swimming pool. And we all love in the slalom in the wintertime being out of the winter in the swimming pool. And you're sort of going, yeah, like, I really like being outside and not in the swimming pool. But I'm wondering, surely there must be days and weeks perhaps when you'll be like, nah, I want to be a swimmer again. I don't want to be cold outside in the wind.
Maybe in the middle of winter where you're like smashing the ice up on the water and you put about 10 layers on, like, that's maybe the only time. But other than that, I love it. And yeah, it's funny that you kind of go to the pool, and I've come out of it.
And I'm a terrible oh, go on, Burge, go on, mate.
I was going to say, it's close we got to a warm weather camp this year.
That's it.
And I think that I'm just kind of curious, because I used to really like swimming. I don't think I'm a good swimmer by any means, but I really enjoyed the feeling of swimming, putting your hands into the water, and feels very much like kayaking to me, like putting your hand and gripping the water. And the stronger the grip you get with your hands, the stronger the grip you get with your paddle, the nicer it feels. And is that like same for you as well? Do you feel the same, that they're the same feelings almost for me when I try them?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the reason why my transition has been A, so quick, and B, successful, because that understanding of the water is innate to me. I don't, it's hard to explain it. So I remember when I first came over and I was paddling with some other talent athletes, and I was trying to explain that feel of water, and I couldn't find the words to describe it, because it's just something that's very natural to me, and absolutely very, very transferable from one to the other. And I like I say, I think that's part of the reason why that part of paddling certainly came quite easily to me. It was just the rest I had to learn.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I'm going to bring Adam. I remember us talking quite extensively about grip. This is something that you're really interested in canoe singles category, about locking into the water, and I love that feeling of. Liam, I'm wondering about you. I know, man, you must do a zillion strokes a minute sometimes, it seems, but do you get that sense of grip on the water? That I love that feeling of connection to the water. Do you really get on that?
That's that. I mean, that's the biggest part, isn't it? You're trying to move yourself across a surface of a liquid, and you've got to try and grab as much grip as possible to keep the paddle in the same place and move yourself past it. I mean, that's the fundamentals of paddling. A lot of people think that you're like scooping water and throwing it behind you and you're propelling yourself forwards, but you're not. You want the paddle to really stay in the same spot and you move past it. And so that's a key like feeling that I'm looking for when I'm paddling, training, doing the technique work. And you can, secure your paddle in the water in lots of different ways. Technically, with hitting it really hard and then pulling it through in a certain way. But like I say, you have to speed it up quite a lot for the speeds that I can get up to. So you're hitting about 185 strokes a minute at peak. So you just do it day in, day out and try and replicate that feeling at a higher stroke rate. Yeah,
that's remarkable, that number. Burge, I'm wondering, you would probably think to do 185 strokes a session. Is that right? Because I do remember what you talked about how many. Yeah, seriously, because in slalom, especially in C1, something about the quality, the least number of strokes can be actually the most effective, and that's remarkable to hear that. I've never heard that number before, Liam. That's kind of, you can see my face, I can see it myself. My eyes are blown, man. 185.
It's only a peak. So you're only up there for a couple of seconds, and then it starts to come down again once the boat speeds up there. But you're having to move yourself faster than the boat is moving across the water to propel yourself forwards. So that's why you're going to have to kind of keep up with that water. So if you're moving at 100, if you're moving at so my peak speeds are really around 24 kilometers an hour on the water, you're going to have to be moving that paddle blade or moving yourself past that paddle blade in excess of 24 kilometers an hour to keep yourself moving, essentially. It's really interesting. I mean, that's kind of like a universal feeling. I remember having a webinar and Q&A like we are now with Johnny and Lisa Carrington as well, and Lisa described that. I mean, they say, what do you feel when you're going flat out and it feels good and great and you're speeding along? And her answer was, it was like her paddles are like hitting concrete. So she's like gripping everything she's throwing at the water she's gripping with and propelling herself forwards, which is kind of the adverse to what you might think it might feel like going so quick. It's interesting.
I don't think I could do 185 of anything in a minute, let alone paddle stroke is complicated. But Adam, go on, tell me about your sensation and your sense of this wonderful, I think it's to do with your body, right? And I felt in a canoe discipline especially, you really feel this kind of the way your body just all lines up on your paddle and you're leaning on it. And I just know, I love the way you talk about it.
Yeah. No, I just love like a sustained stroke. So that kind of cadence, that number scares me. To be honest, I see some other C1 paddlers paddle off the start line, and I'm like that would scare me, knowing I'm going to go that hard off the start. I grew up paddling the River Trent at Stone Canoe Club, and it's like treacle. So I think that's my piece of Stone that I'm taking to Tokyo, is that ability to feel the water lock in and sustain the drives and hopefully just move fast across the water without having to move my body too much and disrupt the boat. I guess that's the difference between slalom and sprint, is obviously we've got the waves to deal with, and in slalom I'm a big believer that it really doesn't matter how quick you are on the flat water. If you can't keep the front of your boat dry, it means nothing, because the waves are going to slow you down so much.
We do occasionally have to deal with waves, but we don't like it that much.
Yeah, in Nottingham especially,
our boats aren't really built for it.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because even slalomists don't really like waves when they're getting in your way. You just want them to be underneath your boat. But I do think I like waves because they're so much good anyway. But
I think we love waves. I think as a slalom paddler, like we look at courses, especially somewhere like Lee Valley with so many features and stoppers and waves. It's you look at it, it's just like a playground, isn't it? And I think that's something you learn over time. You see the features and you're like, wow, like that can ping me over there, and those feelings are second to none for me. We've got it's what, 11 tons of water a second come down our channel. You know, when you put the paddle in the right place, like I said, when you lock in, you sustain the drive, you feel it just push you where you want to go. And conversely, yeah, you get it wrong, you know about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Is I just go on, Charlotte. Sorry, we were about to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I wasn't at all. I was just thinking of your poor shoulders. Like, I can only imagine like the force that's going through them. Then it's just, oh, yeah.
It's just the best feeling, though. I still say, you know, I still think it's like that. It's the energy in, you know, the just being connected to that amount of force is amazing. So, guys, probably people are starting to think, what are these guys talk about? Right, I'm gonna want to just speak a little bit about you know, you guys have been training for now, you know, a year in these really weird conditions, and I thought I'd start with Liam. I know that you've had someone helping you with your training, your daughter Sarah, who I think you said was 3 years old. And I'm saying, like, you know, daddy's trying to lift some weights now. Can you know, how is that? What it must be like? You know, it must be really interesting. What's it like training with your family around you?
So, I mean, this time last year, having Sarah around it was one of the silver linings of the whole pandemic, and having to train at home. She gets to see what I do and you know, coming to the window, because I had the gazebo in the garden and with the gym kind of set up there in my ergo, and she'd be cheering just behind the glass in her pajamas and stuff, because I was up early. And definitely the whole household and the neighbours knew if I was doing bench pull, because I was just dropping 100 and, I don't know, 50 kilos every couple of seconds. So the whole house shook. But it's been challenging. But yeah, having my daughter there and having family around and the support that I've got it's been absolutely fantastic, and it's been one of the silver linings of this whole scenario.
And what about you, Charlotte? I mean, you know, I can imagine the challenges for a para athlete. You know, I do know, actually, having conversations with para athletes, they actually find it easier being at home in some respects, because everything is set up and organized. You know, I know that it's difficult when you're traveling away. Sometimes things aren't right, but I guess traveling, you know, be training at the usual training center must have some benefits. But have you managed to get organized, you know, really neatly at home as well, or has it been difficult?
Yeah, so I was in the gazebo crew as well. Like, I've still got mine in case. And during the bits where we were allowed family in, my dad brought around like pallets that he'd like got off his mates and was sawing and hammering stuff, so that I got like a bench raised up to do bench pull. And so absolutely, it was kind of cobbling stuff together that, you know, people could get hold of. And we got some equipment from the training centre that they kind of divvied out to us. But I think for me, the biggest challenge was like when you're in a nice gym setup, and we have an S&C coach that kind of logistically helps us to move weights. Because for me, I've been a double amputee, carrying weight plates is quite difficult when you're crossing the gym. So it's usually just hand to like set things up. And obviously at home, you don't have that. And so it was logistically trying to work out my gym sessions so that I wasn't doing hundreds of extra lifts to get the weight from the other end of the garden to this end. So it was about planning it strategically so that I could literally set one thing up and I do a number of exercises with it. But once we got to grips with that, it was absolutely fine. And I was the same as Liam. Like, my neighbours used to like pop their head over the garden fence. Like, if I got my earphones in, I was doing battle ropes or I was on my ergo, they'd be like, yeah, go on, Charlotte. Woo, just one more.
And they'll be
like,
so connected to you, won't they? They'll be loving it.
It was lovely, because like, I think, again, like similar to like Liam's daughter, like understanding what daddy did. You know, my neighbours see me rocking out in the morning with a paddle, and I don't suppose they really get it. But I think now that I've had that time at home, I think they do understand it a bit more. So I absolutely think that we've got a few more canoeing fans around where I live, because now they understand it, which is great.
So I'm just curious, so who's been helping you with your gym? Because I'm thinking, you know, your mum might just be basically super ripped now because she's been lifting your weights around, sorting out your gazebo and arranging it for you.
No, so I live on my own. So I got to that point where I was like danger lifting. I was like, oh, is this a bit dangerous to do by myself?
The neighbours peered over the fence to see you struggling under a bench press.
Yeah. Well, bench press is the one you have to just back yourself. Otherwise, I think I'd be lifting the bar for forevermore. So yeah, but it's fine, you know, confidence building and all that.
And And I saw you, Adam, I saw you doing like your, I don't know what the actual name is, the rings, you're pulling up on the rings and stuff. I guess it's in the stairwell of your flat. And that looked pretty, that must be interesting when your neighbors pop out and they see some young athlete in the finest prime doing some sort of ridiculous strength exercises. How has it been for you being at home? And I guess you've recently been being able to access a bit more at Lee Valley, but how is it, what have you done at home and what have you done at the centre and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've been very lucky to have access to whitewater since the start of June. I don't think that's not really stopped since then. It has just been the gym that's been a bit disrupted, but we're all just super happy and super grateful that we're able to paddle whitewater every day. It's what we've grown up doing since we were so young. I think I'd have really struggled, I think, without that. And yeah, like I live in a 2-bed flat with my teammate Chris Bowers, and we've got most of a gym kind of up here. So we haven't got room for a bench, so we do floor press. We rest the bar on a set of parallettes, and there's nowhere to do pull-ups, and the door frames aren't really strong enough for us. So we're quite happy to find that we could hang them up in the stairwell. And I made the mistake of putting some videos on Instagram, and some people messaged saying like, "What are you doing?" Because they thought it looked like the rings were hanging over the gap, like down 2 stories of stairs. I had to like point out, no, like it's just like an illusion. It's not like that at all. Like it's like perfectly safe. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously very tough, but I think we've done really well with what we've got.
No, man. Well, look, I just want to welcome everybody who's watching tonight here on the British Canoeing Paddlecast. If you've just joined us, we've got Liam Heath, Adam Burgess and Charlotte Henshaw, 3 of our best athletes from sprint, paracanoe and the slalom circuits, looking and hoping and hopefully going to Tokyo to represent us. If you're watching on Watch Again or catch up or listening on the podcast, thank you so much for getting involved with that as well. It's super great to have you here and really having a lovely conversation with these guys, and I'm really enjoying it. It makes me feel super good. And just to let anybody know, people put in some questions. We've got a question here from David. How do Adam and Charlotte feel about their families not being allowed to travel to Tokyo to support them? And I guess I'm going to bring that question to you as well, Liam. Maybe they don't know. I don't know what your situation is, but Charlotte, how is that going to work for you?
Well, I think obviously if I get out to the games, my mum and my auntie, they've been to every international that I've ever been in, both swimming and canoeing. And I think it's something that we probably all expected at some point, for them to say that there was no international spectators. So I think they've kind of got to grips with that. Obviously it's disappointing. I mean, everybody wants to have their support system share in that moment, because we don't do this alone. Like we couldn't do it without our support team around us. And I think it's something that we've got to get our heads around. But I think most of our friends and family would absolutely say that the most important thing is for their loved ones, the athletes, to be able to safely compete. And if that means that they have to get up in the middle of the night and watch us on a computer screen or a TV screen, I know certainly for me they're willing to give up that experience themselves so that we can go and achieve our dreams, which just kind of shows the level of the support that they give us. And other athletes will be around, and there will be some support system there. So we just have to make the best of it, I think.
Yeah, no, it's going to be so strange. And what about you, Adam? How's it going to feel? Because I know your parents love. I've seen them all around on the canoeing scene over the years. Everybody's going to feel somewhat cheated, aren't they? In some aspects of this, it's going to be tough, isn't it?
Yeah. No, they absolutely love it coming to watch the competition. So yeah, I'm gutted for them because they're as much a part of the journey as we are. Like you'll know yourself, they're the ones that drive us up and down the country the early days to go to all the races, and they're always so supportive. So yeah, no, I'm gutted that they're not going to be there. I'm also, I've been to races without them as well, plenty of times with success. So I'm happy that I'm there with a job to do, and I'm sure that the Japanese will. If there is some support allowed in, or officials, organisers, whoever's on the venue, I'm sure they'll make some noise. And as canoe slalom athletes, we're not exactly used to massive crowds, so it's I don't think it would be too different for us. It won't it won't seem quiet for sure.
Yeah, and what about you, Liam? Have you thought about this for you? Because I guess you've got a young daughter, and that's got to be tough as well, eh?
No, I mean, a lot of my motivation has come from having, knowing that Sarah would be out there to see me competing at the Olympic Games. But like Charlotte said, this would be my third games, and my parents have had that ability to go to those and experience that, like that excitement and the venues and the whole atmosphere, the Olympic atmosphere. So I really feel for the families of first-time Olympians who are going to be kind of missing out on that a little bit. And I mean, as much as it sucks, that you kind of could see the decision was going to go this way from quite a long way out, and it's for me, it's probably one of the best decisions they could make in terms of ensuring the games go ahead and make sure it's done safely for everyone involved, the athletes and the host nation and their population as well. And it's as I say, we all know this games is going to be very different from every other games. I mean, for me, when the announcement was made as well, as much as I'd love my family to be out there supporting me, and I would if it was just a normal year in a normal scenario. It came as a bit of a relief knowing that it kind of been taken out of their hands in terms of going out, because if they were to head out or allowed to go out, I would be worrying quite a bit about their safety, their health in such uncertain times. So, it is what it is, and you kind of have to just find a way of supporting from afar.
Yeah, no, super. Oh, here we go. We've got a good one. Here's from Rachel Hudspeth. Impressive stats. They're saying about, the forward paddling is so important. And it's something, coaches, they're impressed when delivering sessions or in discussions, because, the efficiency of forward paddling, I guess it doesn't matter what sport, even if you're doing slalom, forward paddling is so interesting. So thank you for that comment, and please keep them coming. I'm just going to bring in, Zofia has been asking lots of questions. Zofia Campbell, nice to see you, Zofia. Thanks for being here. So what do you guys do in your spare time, and how do you spend downtime to balance the intensity? And I'm just going to have to say this. I know already, Charlotte, that you are a fan of musical theatre. This is that moment where you get to talk about it. So I'm kind of interested, because it's such an interesting thing. I don't know much about musical theatre, but I'll be very lovely to hear what you like about it and where that takes you, and maybe how you guys get your thoughts away from the game that we're playing, or that I was playing and you guys are playing. So go on, Charlotte.
So for me, I used to be quite musical. When I was at school, I played piano, and I was in the choir, I was in the school band, and so I kind of had this dual. I know people used to say, "Are you kind of sporty or are you musical?" And I was both. So I've loved theatre since I was a kid. I grew up in quite a musical household, and for me, not only does it provide, it's something that I've always loved. It for me is a huge transportation away from my day-to-day, and I think you can get that through various different mediums. But when I sit in a theatre and the lights go down and I'm completely invested in what I'm seeing on stage, I haven't got time to worry about how terrible my training week's been, or a competition that's coming up in a few months' time that I'm a bit twitchy about. I completely forget that for 3 hours, and it allows me that headspace away from the day-to-day grind of training. So it does sound a bit of a cliche, but it is a huge escape for me, and I've definitely missed that during the pandemic. Being able to just head down to London on a weekend and catch up with friends and go and see a show or two. So hopefully.
How have you been getting your dose? How have you been getting your dose during lockdown in the theatres? Do you watch it on TV and listen and stuff like that?
Well, there's musical films, which are always a classic. And actually, it's similar to how we've kind of been creative in our training. I think a lot of the arts have kind of had to be creative as well. So lots of performers have been going online and doing online productions and online concerts. So I think it's just thinking outside the box, and they've managed to do that pretty well. So that's been how I've been sort of satisfying that craving for this last 12 months or so.
No, that's cool. Well, just thank you, Charlotte. And yeah, I think it's really amazing to hear that you've got this, these different aspects, because I'd have just thought you were an athlete. And I guess like many people might just think you can either be an athlete or a sporty person. But hey, look, Kimberly Woods is joining us. Hey, Kimberly, thanks for coming. Kimberly Woods representing Great Britain at the next Olympics in K1 men. K1 women, excuse me. That's obviously not sensible to say that. Kimberly is saying, what is your favorite musical and which will be the first one you'll go to? Go on, Charlotte. Will you tell us?
I can, yeah. So currently my favorite musical is Hamilton, which was probably not a surprise to if people like musical theatre, they will have heard of Hamilton. It's on Disney
I've heard
Plus.
of Hamilton, so
yeah. It's just very different.
So
it's
cultural.
Very creative. It's very modern. So yeah, that one. And if I can get tickets to go and see it, I would like to go and see that again. When I can.
Amazing. Oh, that sounds super cool. Adam, what about you? How do you kind of take your mind out of this this business? I know you're super into yoga and stuff like that. Is that a part of it, or is this an aspect of do you see yoga as a bridging the gap, or is it a way of, I don't want to say escaping, because that's sounds a bit weird, but kind of getting away or changing your mindset? How does that fit in, or what do you do?
It's a bit of both, really. And I think, because of the pandemic, my studio is closed, and part of it for me is I really like the community around it. So I have to say, like, my personal practice here it's just not quite the same. So I haven't been doing as much at home as I'd probably usually do if my studio was open. But what it is, it's moving and breathing, and that's what we do all day long. And my yoga practice has made me quite fascinated in both of those things. And I think now kind of where I'm at is, I'm really quite interested in how I'm moving and how I'm breathing, the 24 hours a day. So that's not like not an escape thing, but you'd be amazed that, in the morning between waking up and arriving at the venue, the amount of time in that window I've spent, thinking about how I'm breathing or where the weight is in my feet. And, that's what the yoga practice has given me. It's not just about what you do on the mat. It's, the next level for me is then how you take that into your everyday life.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because I use that word escape really like not wanting to, because what you're talking about is the very opposite of escape. It's about complete presence and being completely there with yourself rather than trying to get away from things. And that for me is what I really wanted to do with my sport as well. You want to be there because you've done all this stuff and you've had all this effort put into you by various people. It's kind of honoring the moment, honoring the breath that you have, that moment that you have at that time, to be able to be there when we know, especially in these times, so that is not universally possible for so many people. So that's lovely to hear you say that.
I mean, like we're so, we lead totally normal lives as well. So like everyone else, I love sitting down and watching a series on Netflix just as much as anyone. I guess maybe the slightly novel approach I might bring to it is that, I'm pretty conscious about how I'm sitting whilst I'm doing that.
You're watching it stood on one finger, balanced like.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What about you, Liam? You've got obviously your daughter and you've got your family around you. Is that what you do to be away from your sport?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed over the years that I've been competing and I've been an athlete. So it's very much now about being a dad. When in my free time, it is about looking after my daughter and dealing with family life and making sure everything's set up for the next session. But previously on training camps, when you have free time, it would be pretty much watching films, doing design work, bits and pieces, designing something, thinking about something else.
Designing what? What are you designing?
All sorts, bits and pieces, anything kind of that takes my fancy, I suppose. I do a lot of boat designs for Nello and paddle sports design. So the graphic design work, which goes on their boats for people to have their own snazzy kayaks. But I think having that
Are you a
ability to
gel
distract
coater's
yourself.
nightmare with a zillion colours and super thin lines? They must be like, no, that is that Liam's design coming again. What's he doing?
I've sent a few through and they've just said no. I can't do that. No way. But I was saying that I think having that ability as an athlete, having that ability to distract yourself during those rest periods, those down times, is a very important skill, and it's probably quite understated, or people don't really recognize that as a skill, to completely take yourself away from that training environment, the sessions you've just done, and completely fixate your mind on something else and give that mind a rest. It's a very important skill, and it's probably, I'm quite good at it. It's probably one of those aspects which has made me quite good at paddling at the same time, or being an athlete, being the athlete that I am. Just to be able to switch off and completely forget about paddling for a little bit, and then reset, bring myself back into the training environment and hit it as hard as I can once again.
Now that's really interesting. Again, do Liam's logos make the boats go faster? Oh, that's an interesting question. Depends how thick the gel coat is.
Yeah,
look good, feel good.
Paint that goes on. It is, yeah. I mean, part of going quick is feeling good and confident in your boat, and if you feel confident, feel fast when you're sat in it, and you're looking at a fast design, or you like the boat that you're in, it's going to be a positive thing, isn't it? But a complex design and with a lot of paint on is going to be heavier than one without. But it's, as I say, it's all about that psychological aspect, I suppose. If you're happy in it, it feels comfortable, you like it, it's going to be good. It's all good for you.
Yeah, you just want grey on the top, grey on the bottom. Seems to work just fine. So it's interesting. I think it's just enough. I mean, look, the time is running past like crazy here, and I love, so fascinating. I mean, one of the things I always thought about is, if as an athlete, and I think you guys will probably know this, it'd be interesting I don't know about the audience. I always thought it's really important to be either on or off. If you're half between on or off, then you're never really able to get on and never able to switch off. And I think when I was resting, you're really thinking about like resting properly, or when you're doing something else, do that. You don't want to be thinking about canoeing and resting. You don't want to be thinking about, doing resting and canoeing, thinking about other things that you're not doing. So I think, to me, it's about being completely present with what you're doing. I think that's a really important part of being an athlete, because that way your body, you can get the most out of yourself as well. And yeah, really lovely to hear that. So look, I'm just desperate. Yeah, we're not running out of time, but I've got to keep going. Charlotte, there's one question I would really like to bring up with you, because I think this is incredibly interesting, incredibly kind of brave and kind of awesome. You've been talking a bit about endometriosis and having surgery 9 months out of the games time. And I guess endometriosis is something that is, perhaps not very well known to people, and what this means. And I suppose for lots of people, and especially for athletes, this is something that's actually surprisingly common for female athletes. Well, surprisingly common for women in general, more common than people might think. I was wondering what made you want to speak about that and be so honest, but also be so kind of I suppose I was about to say useful or helpful, but I mean, you're kind of pro-social with this, trying to get out there and talk about this.
Yeah, so for me, it was really important when I got my diagnosis in December. I had my surgery just before Christmas. When the doctors had said that it was a potential that I could have endometriosis and that was the cause of my pain for many, many years, I did what everyone does, and I went online and I went to find out about the surgery. I went online to find out how people had recovered from it, and how they managed their pain on a day-to-day basis. And there was a lot of information about just general recovery, but there wasn't a lot out there for athletes specifically. And obviously, because we're so fine-tuned and we're so in tune with our bodies, and it's our tool, and we need to know that it's going to be in a good position. When I came out of surgery, I was trying to find information, and there wasn't really anything. I think I found articles about 2 other athletes that had been very open with their story. And so Eleanor Barker, who's a cyclist, was really gracious with her time. She said, she sent me her number, and I spoke to her the night before my surgery, and she spoke to me in terms of athlete recovery. And so I went into my surgery with a huge weight off my mind, that I wasn't going to be not able to walk up the stairs in 5 weeks' time, which is what I'd read on this one website. And I thought, well, that's no use to me when I've got a games to be training for. And then when I spoke to Eleanor, she said, well, I was back on the bike in 5 days. And that just kind of, it set me, on a good mindset to go into surgery and then recovery. So I was really keen to be that person for, the next young athlete or young woman who wants some more information about keeping active and about the condition. And it's about sharing my admittedly limited at this moment in time. It's very new diagnosis for me, but it's about sharing the knowledge that you have and to help other people either advocate for themselves to get a diagnosis, or if they've got one, tips and tricks to cope with pain management. And I hope that, by being open with my experience, it will be a help to somebody.
No, thank you. I was really wanting to give you this opportunity because I think the platform, you guys are all going to be, well, hopefully some of you, Charlotte, I know you're not fully qualified yet, and Liam and Adam, you already booked your tickets, so to speak. But I guess, athletes do have this platform and you do have a voice, and it's really interesting. Adam, I know you were talking, talking about yoga and this idea of breathing and on all that, having using that platform. Do you feel strongly, Adam? I think you must do, about using your voice to talk about things that are important to you to different people.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the breath in particular that's really interested me at the moment. And I'm actually studying a course now. Hopefully I'll qualify soon, so I'll be able to talk more about it then, and be qualified to do so.
We'll book you on.
For me, that's been a fascinating journey, and not just from a performance aspect. It's about longevity for me. So maybe we should have a chat about it. I know it's one of your goals to live to 100. Remember you telling me that once. So yeah, like how should we be breathing to live longer? And I like what you said. If you're on or off as an athlete, it's sometimes hard to get out of that in between stage and really switch off. The power of the breath, you can kind of get there.
And Liam, I know you'll be a sort of almost elder statesman, if you forgive me to use that word, but you'll have been around, you'll have known this stuff, and for you, this chance to be on the stage, on the Olympic stage, what does it mean to you as a sort of beyond sports? Does it have that chance, the opportunity for you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's definitely a massive opportunity of like self-promotion and looking forwards to your future careers. I mean, that's definitely on the cards for me. As I say, I am getting older, and my thoughts are turning towards future life and supporting the family. But it's just trying to make the most of the opportunities as and when they pop up, and recognizing them, and trying to do the best you can and with them. The games that's approaching and the media attention around that is a massive opportunity, which hopefully can kind of capitalize on and springboard me or the sport and everyone forwards another step.
No,
for sure.
No, it's really, it's just super interesting to say, hold on, it's just someone saying, Lee Atkins, there you go. In case the broadcast ends soon, you are all brilliant and we'll hear our cheers from Blighty. So all the way out there. Thank you, Lee. That's a lovely thing to say.
Thanks.
And so, I'm just wondering, I'm not sure I'm going to try and say Ellen Owen, brilliant openness for other female athletes. Yes, thank you, Charlotte, for using your voice there, and Sophia seconding that as well. So I think it's, I'm very grateful for people coming here and speaking, and being. So I think we need to start to finish, because people might be wondering to go and have their cup of cocoa before they go to bed. I don't know what time you've got to go to bed, Liam, if you've got a 3-year-old. I don't know how that must work for you. But Liam, I'll just give you the last. Have you got any last thoughts that you'd like to talk about here before we sign off? Is there anything you'd like to have said, or things you would like to expand on in this in the podcast that we've not managed to touch so far?
No, I can't think of anything really that you haven't really covered. really looking forward to the year ahead personally. And I just kind of on this platform now, I'd like to thank everyone who's supported me so far in this journey, and I'm sure will continue to support me and everyone else going to the games, albeit from afar. But yeah, just to say massive thanks for their support.
That's cool. What about you, Adam? Would you like to say, or Rebecca Lovat? Hey, Becky, thanks for tuning in. She's obviously happy to hear from you all. So it's lovely to see the audience chipping in here. Adam, is there anything you'd like to finish and just share with the audience here?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come here with anything in particular to say other than just to answer your questions. So, I just second what Liam said, really. Just like, thanks for all the support from everyone. And yeah, I'm sure we will hear the cheers when we're out there from back home. That was something during the Olympic selection year, actually. I was very aware of the support we had back at home. And yeah, I mean, this pandemic's probably presented an opportunity for new people to get involved in paddle sports. I saw the numbers of memberships going up a lot last year, and let's hope it continues to increase and we can inspire a few more people to get in boats this summer.
Yeah. Definitely. I hear that call. And what about you, Charlotte? You've got the last word of the podcast. Well, I'm probably going to do that, but you've got the last of the guests.
Okay. I think that point's really, really important. I think we have something incredibly special within British canoeing. I think it's as somebody who's newly discovered the wonders of the world of canoeing, I think, thank you to you for doing stuff like this to hopefully help us kind of spread our message of the incredible support and sport that we have, and hopefully we can capitalize on the new membership coming in. Can we spread the word about canoeing and make it bigger and better for future generations? And I just want to say thank you for all the support so far coming over to this new world for me, and I've quickly fallen in love with it, and I want to spread the message to more people. So long may it continue.
Canoeing and kayaking is the best, everybody, and paddle, stand-up paddleboarding, paddle sport, should I say, and all the other sports. I've probably said it, you know what I mean. Anything where you get a paddle and you get to pull along in the water, I think it's awesome. I can dig it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Liam, Adam, and Charlotte, for being here. It's just so kind. And thank you to all of the people who've come to watch. It's just super great to have you along tonight, all the viewers and the listeners. And I hope we brought a little bit of sunshine to your Thursday evening. I hope it will come back for the rest of the summer. We'll be back next week with an edition all about she paddles, which will be really interesting. Why we've got that campaign, what that campaign's about, and what work is being done within our community. Please remember, you can catch up with all of this on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be releasing it as a podcast as soon as we can. You'll be able to find that in the usual places. I'm super happy for being here. Thank you to our guests once more. Thank you to everybody for all the comments and the lovely things you've been saying. And yeah, see you soon. And have a good time out on the water if you can between now and next week. Bye for now. See ya.